Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome to 1minutetennis.com. In today's session, I want to talk to you about how to hit harder off the ground. I don't want to talk about changing technique. When we look at tennis players all over the world, some players, even with poor technique or inefficient technique, seem to be able to hit the ball very hard. And other players who have beautiful, honed, precise strokes just can't get power. I want to show you why that happens and how you can add this secret power source into your ground strokes today. Ignoring the technique and the shape of the strokes, because everybody watching this video will have slightly different strokes and some people will have significantly different strokes. But ignoring the shape and technique of the strokes, there are certain motions in play whenever we hit the ball. The question I've got is, in your strokes, are you pushing or are you pulling? Now, all strokes are a combination of the two, but if it's a predominantly pushing motion, then no matter how refined your technique, you're never really going to hit the ball hard. If you have a pulling motion, then no matter how poor your technique, you're always going to have the ability to really add speed to the ball. So what does that actually mean, and how can you apply it to your game? Look at it this way, then in terms of a tennis stroke, then pushing is always against a resistance that's in front of you. So if you shadow your stroke now and just go through it, just feel whether if you had an object in front of you, you would be pushing it or whether you would be hitting it. If I'm pushing against that object that's in front of me, then I'm not going to really accelerate through the ball, or I'm not going to accelerate at all. I'm going to be pushing through the stroke. We often hear experts talking about high-level players where they throw the racket through the ball. But throwing is a very difficult concept to achieve. If it's not natural for you, it's very, very hard to learn. But the concept of pulling the racket through the stroke, which has exactly the same effect as throwing, is a really easy effect to achieve. To make this subtle but essential and very effective change in your strokes, you're going to have to do it with feel. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways now where you can really get the feel of what you're trying to achieve and what's going to change the power in your ground strokes. So what I've done here is put a simple resistance band and wrapped it around the post. Obviously this is very familiar for people using resistance bands for training. But I'm now going to wrap the resistance band around my racket. I'm going to go into the stroke and make the take back here, and I'm pretty much level with the resistance band. And now I'm going to let the racket lag back and try and pull the racket forwards. And I can feel that I'm now pulling from behind. There is zero pushing in this stroke. If I try and push against the resistance band, then it's actually hard on my arm and uncomfortable on my wrist. But if I pull against the resistance band, I get a totally different kind of feel. It's like a kind of dynamic energy instead of a static energy. You can see the difference as I go from one movement of pushing to one movement of pulling. And now what I'm going to do is get that pulling feeling and then slip the resistance band off the stroke and repeat the pulling feeling. And now maybe I go back to the resistance band and we alternate between the two, pull and pull. And now my racket is flying forwards with a freedom and with real power and acceleration. I've changed pushing into pulling. If you don't have a resistance band, or you want another way of finding this pulling feeling, then a great way of doing this is to use the tennis net. And I'm just going to thread the racket through the net here, and now I'm going to make the stroke going away from the camera and I'm pulling forwards. Again, if I push, it's uncomfortable on my wrist and it just feels ineffective. When I pull, then I can feel a lot of energy and real stress on the net. So again, I've changed from pushing into pulling. When you get the pulling feeling in your forehand, you'll hit a faster, easier, and much more powerful stroke. And remember, we haven't changed the technique at all. If you like this idea, then check out our book, The Power Solution. In the book, we cover this and many other subjects on how to generate real power in all of your strokes. Or join players in over 40 countries that I'm helping with one-to-one online coaching. It's a unique service where we combine video analysis with personalized lessons such as this and on-court consultations. It's very inexpensive and it really works. For more information, check out the website or email me. Remember, Most players' ground strokes are about 80% pushing and 20% pulling. Change that equation. Make it 80% pulling minimum, 20% pushing, and you'll have easier, faster, and more powerful strokes. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for more unique tennis lessons that really work.